see if it is coming through. Perfect. Looks like it is. Alright. Hey everyone, real quick. Let's take a look at this. Alright. Grab that. Set up the sharing. That. Okay. And share it on one more platform. Alrighty. So, with everything done there, I am now live with you guys. Hello, everyone. Let's see if we can see the chat. There, we got the chat there. Perfect. No one saying anything, but let's do this. Hello, chat. Alright. So, today we're going to be going over the impeachment, the most recent impeachment, of Donald Trump, and the entire process of impeachment in the United States, what everything means, what's the next step, looking at the impeachment of Bill Clinton as well, and kind of looking at a few other things such as the political atmosphere about it, and what seriousness we maybe should take. So, first things first, what's impeachment? Well, in the United States, an impeachment is essentially the equivalent of an indictment by a grand jury. But it's done at the state or federal level. It is essentially, like I said, an indictment, so an accusation and call for investigation and trial of suspected criminal activity. In every single case, the abuse of power, and then either withholding information, tampering with information, or obstructing some sort of justice has always been the theme for all of the impeachments we've had for U.S. presidents, including Donald Trump. So, typically it's what it's around. It's supposed to typically be more towards, or at least when listed in the Constitution, things that are brought up are treason and bribery, but we haven't really had that come up. I mean, you can maybe argue that Watergate was kind of maybe, you can maybe make arguments if there is any evidence of collusion with Russia, which from what I've seen there's not. You could maybe consider that treason. But outside of that, no. There really isn't anything except for typically it being based on, here you can see, alleged crimes. Now, what is actually, what's the process here? So we have the process here for the actual constitutional process for impeachment. So the House of Representatives shall choose their speaker and officers, and they shall have the sole power of impeachment. Now, in order to pass an impeachment in Congress, well, in the House, all you need is a majority vote. So 50% plus one, and you pass an impeachment. The Senate, which is where the impeachment will go after that, is who tries all impeachments. The Senate shall have sole power to try all impeachments. When sitting for that purpose, they shall be on oath or affirmation. When the President of the United States is tried, which is the case, the Chief Justice shall preside, and no person shall be convicted without the concurrence of 2/3 of members present, meaning that you need 2/3 vote in favor in the Senate to pass an impeachment. And no impeachment, I believe, has actually been successfully passed through the Senate. So when we look at that, that's how impeachment works there. Now let's take a look at the impeachment of Donald Trump. Now, there's some other little things too, like the Judiciary Committee had to overlook it, and they had their ideas of the articles and what was valid and not. And as we can see, it was unanimously Democrat voting yes and unanimously Republican voting no, which I'll get into in a bit here. And as we can see too, there's a lot of looking into abuse of power, specifically going over looking into Joe Biden and Ukraine, but there's quite a few things they've tried pushing on this. But the biggest thing with the Trump is the obstruction of Congress and the abuse of power. Now they believe that he used his power or his Trump either used his power or his ability, his status, irresponsibly. And the obstruction of Congress, for them, it's, I think, more of a contempt of Congress. Now, that one I don't really see there being as much, but some of the ideas or some of the things he did, hiring and firing, moving people in and out of Congress during his own investigation into him. That's one of the things they're looking into there. So, when impeached, what is the reason for impeachment? Well, we get into Article 2, Section 4. The President or Vice President or any civil officer of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. So the idea is that either they are bribing, obstructing, committing treason, and that's the case. Now, if we look here, we'll see a few things that are of interest. First off, when it comes to both, it's almost unanimous Democratic yes. And it is a unanimous Republican no. So, 2 Democrats voted no on the abuse of power. 3 of them voted no on the obstruction of Congress. 1 independent voted yes. The only independent recorded in the House right now voted yes, or at least was present for the vote. Voted yes for both. And again, Republicans were unanimous. Now, what's interesting, the 1 independent who voted yes is Justin Amash. Now, Justin Amash is I guess you would say, right-leaning libertarian. He's a former Republican, which many libertarians are. And he is very much I guess what you would call a Ron Paul Republican or Ron Paul Libertarian. who's pretty much a Republican that wants to see lifting, a federal lift on issues like marijuana, gay marriage, and reduction in defense spending. It's pretty much what it is. So other than that, he's pretty much a Republican. I mean, he's against the Affordable Care Act. He's against, he's skeptical of the EPA. Thinks it's way too, he's very much a typical Republican in a lot of things. He's pro-choice. I mean, he's a Republican. So it's interesting that he voted that way. Him being very much critical of Trump, which there are a lot of Republicans and conservatives who are. Good example would be I'm blanking. How am I blanking on this guy? Ben Shapiro. Now, what's really interesting though, the one who actually didn't vote at all, just voted president, is Tulsi Gabbard. On both, she didn't vote yes or no. What's Tulsi Gabbard doing currently? Running for president. And she is not running for re-election for her office. So Tulsi Gabbard decided not to vote either way, which I find very interesting. To me, that shows she's looking out for herself politically. She doesn't want to make a statement. She doesn't want to go necessarily with the party. She wants to keep herself away because, I mean, if she's going for president, maybe she doesn't want to have any of that sort of bad beef going against her and a few other things. I find it interesting that when it came to it, obviously there were a few Democrats that didn't. Three people didn't vote, which is a Republican from California who was banned from voting. A Democrat who's got a health issue, and a Republican from Illinois who was not present. The rest of them voted. So it was mostly, just a few people that weren't there. And the only Democrats that really voted against things were Colin Peterson, Jeff Van Drew, and a Barry Luttermilk. Oh no. Barry Luttermilk made a stupid comparison, sorry. To to the trial of Jesus. Oh my gosh. Oh, what the fuck. Anyway. But yeah, the impeachment was these two people didn't vote. They voted nay. And I believe there's a third one who voted nay as well. Very interesting though. But as we notice, there's a political consistency here of how it went. Well, when we look at the impeachment of Bill Clinton, it's similar in the other way. Now, Bill Clinton himself was also attempted to do obstruction of justice, similar to obstruction of Congress, except for he was obstructing the legal, it's obvious obstruction of justice, and lying under oath. His was regarding the Monica Lewinsky scandal, which any of you don't know. Bill Clinton had an affair with Monica Lewinsky. Monica Lewinsky was a White House staff, and they were caught. He lied, as well as kind of pressure Lewinsky and use some of his, I guess you would say, connections, ties, whatever, power to obstruct justice, to make changes to certain things or hide certain things. It didn't pass. He didn't get kicked out. But yeah, it was too political. If we look, when the vote came down to, because I mean this one too, when we look at the impeachment of Trump, 230 to 197. I mean, it was only a 33, and 229 to 198. So 33 and 31. Is not that far. A slight majority. Which the impeachment of Clinton, it was even tighter, but still similar. 22, 22 people there. And there it was even tighter, 9, but still just slight when it came to that kind of stuff. And just slight the other way too. Just some Republicans felt that, maybe he didn't quite do perjury. And when it came to the abuse of power vote, a lot of people didn't think he abused power. A lot of people did, but most people did. As you notice, though, it's very political. And at that point, it was a big push by, I do believe, what's his name? No, I can't remember anymore. But, yeah. It was a big scandal and a big issue. And just like with this one, yeah, Gingrich was big pushing. Now, of course, he was the House Speaker at that time. And, of course, Pelosi was pushing it this time, and she's the House Speaker this time. So, again, it's very political. It's very more about what party has majority and trying to find a reason to do it. And after what happened with, to me, the only one that really should have been, out of the ones that have been tried, was Nixon, because of the Watergate scandal, which is an obstruction, or I guess you would say perjury, abuse of power or perjury. I don't think Donald Trump or Bill Clinton should have been impeached, at least on what they're being proposed. That's my opinion. I don't see anything like that. I think that you have a lot greater chance of impeaching someone like Ronald Reagan or George W. Bush, especially George W. Bush, on certain things, on committing a war crime, abusing power, sending troops, potentially, or maybe not even George W. Bush, but Cheney. That's my opinion, though. But that's what we have. And again, this has to go to the Senate. This will be presided by over the Senate and the Supreme Justice. Now, if we take a look here, at the Supreme Court, John G. Roberts is the current Chief Justice. Was nominated by Bush. So he has been critical of Trump. He's been involved in quite a few things. But he is to be seen. Now, it seems that he very well may be more right-leaning. We can take a look here. He is someone who seems to uphold more justice than political affiliation, which is very good. But again, I'm doubtful that it'll go through. But if you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave them down. Put what you think. Do you think that any of these accusations are valid? Do you think there were other things that maybe Trump should have been pushed on instead? What evidence do you have that you think might prove or disprove Trump's guilt? Anything like that. It's good to have a discussion. Again, I myself don't see this going anywhere. I don't think Trump is guilty of what they're saying he's guilty of. Yeah, Trump's definitely been wishy-washy. I mean, he's not the best president, but I don't think he's as bad as being said. And again, this seems much more to be a political issue, a political statement, as with the Clinton one, where it was not so much about actually seeking justice, but instead making a political statement and using the power of the majority of Congress to try to uphold or uproot a president that they politically disagree with. And I honestly find that sad. It's a big reason why I'm not a big fan of party politics in general or political parties. Because had the most recent election not end with a large majority of seats going to people who have a D next to their name, if it had been the other way around or much more balanced, 200, or closer to, like 210, 210, instead of it being what it is now, which is about 200, 230, this might not have even happened. So, or if it was the other way around, if it was closer to like 230 Republican, 200 Democrat, you would see it being different. I don't think this would be brought up, or I would think that this vote would be just shot down. And that's what I think. I think this is kind of sad that we're wasting time doing this. It is going to be interesting because it is the first time I believe that we'll have a president with an impeachment during an election year, and if the president doesn't get impeached, they may be running. Let me check that real quick. Hold on. Let's see when the impeachment happened. Yeah, Bill Clinton had been elected his second term. He's about halfway through his second term when he had his impeachment trial. So this is the first time, if uh, if Trump does not, if this fails, which I think it will, that we'll have a president run for re-election after a failed impeachment. So it'll be interesting. Again, tell me what you guys think. Thank you for watching. And remember, use your head. Share this. Take care.